Y el retorno. Sí, por eso.
Muy cerca.
No? Okay, great. Testing?
So the best part of the show is now is the feedback with the public, right, with the audience. So we can make some questions, and we're gonna be very happy to answer. But I have my questions first. So for the three of you, where did you get your inspiration for the show, for the performance first? Where the inspiration comes from? First. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ariana Aquino. The inspiration for my piece, Misunderstood, came from the experiences of Afro-Latinas, the Anglo-Latinas, and being non-binary, just the stereotypes that come along with gender, sexuality, race, and giving Latinas a chance to share themselves in their own stories versus the assumptions that are put on them.
Stephanie, thank you.
Hi everyone, so my name is Stephanie Peña, and the inspiration from Mi Pajon Me Habló, which translates to My Afro Spoke to Me, is about my hair journey, and also Afro-Latina women that, we should appreciate our Afro and our kinky hair.
So my inspiration came from my experience, what I had to go through to find my way back to my full identity. So embracing also my indigenous.
Reminded of the titles of the performance. So it's Misunderstood, Mi Pajon Me Habló, and
Mine is Sent from Within.
Yeah, great, thank you. So we can start with you. Why did you pick that song?
Yeah, so I used four different versions of Misunderstood, originally from the Animals. But these versions, they had different aesthetics and sounds, like my dancers and their own stories are very different. And the title, instead of just Misunderstood, it's Miss, as like in female, but then ed, like let me educate you, like you may see this, but that's not necessarily what it is. And then understood is capitalized, because it's like, get it, do you understand? Yeah, so that was like, and I mean, the Nina Simone version was the first version I heard, and the power behind her voice and the power we have of Latinos, Latinas, Latinx people was something I wanted to absorb.
Well, your sound, it's like a sound, right?
Yeah.
Sound.
So I did a voiceover, and that's my mom, by the way. So the voiceover is like my hair talking to me. So it's telling me like, oh, since you were little, you've been perming your hair. I tried to come out a little bit, and you permed it again. And like, the older you got, I thought that's it. And then it was like, no, you kept straightening it, kept doing all these things. And then my hair's like, I had enough. Like, love me like the way you love other things. Do this to me, take care of me, and I'm gonna blossom and show you how beautiful I can be. So that was the voiceover translated in English. And the thing is that I wrote it in English first, and then my mom translated in Spanish, and then she did the voiceover. So, yeah.
Maria Gracia, I know you told why you picked the topic and why you picked the music. The music was amazing, huh?
Well, the music is actually music that I use when I do yoga. I mean, like most of it, the one in the video and the first one and the third one. But the second one, it's just the music that I found one day that I was like looking for music that I really liked that had these weird sounds of like, I imagine myself like working in the mines or something. So I felt that it did a lot to a lot of music. It had a lot of yeah, and the last one is a song that I really like. It's a song, it's in Portuguese, but it says Pachamama
Mhm.
in Quechua. And yeah, and like how like to something like we are their kids and we embrace the earth and mother nature.
And I know you have questions, right? So who's gonna be first? Who has questions for the choreographers? You have to you have to, you know, yeah.
Hello. Hi, I have a question for Maria Gracia. What was the role of the male dancer?
Hi.
Hello. What was the role of the male dancer?
So my journey to find my way back to my roots and to find my full identity. It's a very internal experience, and this whole time I was talking to myself. So he represents my voice, the subconscious, to something that I want to connect to or that I wanted to connect with because he is me. Now, he's not a he, it's them. Okay. Them is, they are myself, they are me, and they have the knowledge and they care for me, and even though I want to fight them, I'll always, they're part of me, so it's like, it's my identity, so I have to embrace it. But he's like guiding me, so they are guiding me to find my way back to them. Thank you.
Who's gonna be next? I think the lady has a question, right? Yes. Right there. Yeah, no.
Hi, I'm the dancer who danced in Ariana's piece. I want to know from each choreographer, what was your process like?
So for Misunderstood, it started with just hearing the dancers' experiences, stories, and then pulling out words that stood out. And then I had them improv to those words, and I'd pull out moves, and we developed phrases. And then other parts, the parts where they danced together, was just phrases developed inspired by the music.
I guess my process was the written part first. Then I heard the voiceover a few times, and then I heard it in my mind. Then I separated from it, and then I did the movement separately from the voice with a different song. Because I didn't want to attach myself too much to it. And then from there, I brought it together, and I was like, oh, it kind of works. And then I, here and there, I mixed a few things and like added here. I was like, oh, this movement makes more sense with this word or this phrase. But yeah, that's my process.
I think that we created the phrases or did the movement also before or with a different music, and then I decided on the music. We decided which phrase was going to be first, which was going to be afterwards.
So you first pick the topic, right? And then start the process.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, definitely when I heard about the festival, I knew that if I wanted to do a piece, it was going to be about finding my identity, like a re-encounter with an identity, which like I call my strength. So.
Who has another question? Yeah. Somebody has another question, but right there. Right here.
A question for Ariana, right? It seemed, as an audio members, that at some point there was kind of a very complex dynamic between your two dancers, and there was almost some tensions building and then releasing. Can you tell something more about like what is the story between the two of them when they're dancing together?
Yeah, so initially, conceptually, it was just like Afro-Latina and Anglo-Latina experience, and then non-gender conforming and female identifying. But once I got both of my dancers in the space together, the relationship that was built, and Kat being able to see the other dancer, Angelica, and it was like themselves before they transitioned into becoming non-binary. And it was like the little girl like inside looking back from when they first began, and then like this love and care built, but then there was the fight and the struggle and just that whole journey. So it's like they ended up telling each other's stories and like they were one. They connected, yeah.
Hi, enjoyed the performances. Sorry. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I enjoyed the performances. Just a quick question, just for all of you, but you mentioned something about your afro and identity. And I'm basically asking this question because there's a lot been on my mind about ethnicity and nationality, because these are really important issues. One, and I'll try not to be too long-winded, but I grew up in East Harlem. I'm Black American, but I grew up in this neighborhood knowing all different types of people. And I remember wanting to learn Spanish and trying to watch Telemundo, Univision, and just being so turned off by it, because it's like there only seem to be white Latinos being represented on TV. You actually see people in blackface mocking, and it was just so ridiculous. One, has anything changed? And two, how do you think about Latin identity? Because Cubans and Mexicans are very different cultures, Venezuelans and Honduras, and I'm thinking, how do you, as Black, how do you identify as your Blackness and also Latin in these different cultures? Because it seems like, just as a Black American, I don't identify necessarily with everyone who speaks English from a similar background. I think we have very distinct cultures. Can you maybe just, I know it's an open question, but maybe just explain a little bit for me? Thank you.
Okay, so I grew up in New York. My family's from the Dominican Republic. So growing up, especially I feel like the women in my family, it was all about appearance. It was all about your hair. Your hair had to be straight. So all the European standard of beauty. So that's where I grew up. Like, why does your hair look like that? Even visiting my grandma, I would go just to say hi to her. She wouldn't even say hi. She would just be like, why is your hair like that? So it's just like all that growing up. And then finally because when I was like 24, I kind of moved to London. So I separated myself from my family. And that's when I appreciated my afro. That's when I started digging deeper into my roots and knowing more about my Blackness and the Dominican side. Because I was so used to, your hair has to be like this, I was like, be like this. And I felt myself, like, if I did have my afro, it's like, oh my God, am I ugly? Do I really look, So that was my experience. And then separating myself, finally coming back to New York, I kind of shared that experience with my family. And now they kind of have more of an open mind. So now my grandma, she says hi to me. She's like, oh my God, your hair's beautiful now. Like, I had to tell her, like, no, like, this is my hair. Why are you denying the Blackness within you? So that's why I felt like I needed to tell this through my choreography. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So it was amazing. I think it was the last question, right? Yeah. So now we have the cocktail time. Just remember, it's a fundraising cocktail, so you can support this project, the cocktail. And thank you again. Thank you very much for being here. It's super important for all the team. So the big applause is for you.